I'm Kaylee, and recently I read Lord of the Rings in 6 days. It only took me 6 days to read through it because I love it so much, and now I'm going to give you my review. Before I give you all of my thoughts about Lord of the Rings and why I love rereading it so often, we're going to reach back here to our Booktuber Shoutout book, and we're going to shout out somebody randomly. Today's shout out goes to Lil's Vintage World. So I will leave a link to her channel over in the description. Be sure to go over and subscribe to her, and please do subscribe to this channel if you love Lord of the Rings, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all the places. And be on the lookout for a lot more Lord of the Rings videos coming soon. So I challenged myself to reread all of the Lord of the Rings in 6 days because there are 6 books. So the Fellowship of the Ring, that's books 1 and 2. And then the Two Towers is 2 books. And then Return of the King is 2 books. And each of the books are between like 133 up to I think like 198 pages. So I figured, hey, I can read 198 pages in one day. And I put little stickies to show where each of the books end. And I did a whole video about reading through Lord of the Rings in 6 days. But that video got a little long, and so now I'm giving you my actual review of Lord of the Rings. So in case you didn't know, Lord of the Rings is about Frodo, who is warned by the wizard Gandalf that an heirloom magic ring that was left to him by his Uncle Bilbo is actually very dangerous. Gandalf warns Frodo that the Dark Lord is searching for him, searching for the magic ring. And so Frodo must leave his home in the Shire, and he travels through the wilderness with a few of his friends, searching for a way to destroy the ring. Along the way, he meets elves and dwarves and a mysterious man called Strider, who is more than he seems to be. Every time that I reread this trilogy, my heart just soars and I get so inspired. Not only is the plot just really exciting, and I love all the world building and the languages and the magic and everything, but the best thing about Lord of the Rings is the deep spiritual themes of friendship and grief and love and courage, and especially things like duty and honor. There have been many times in my life when I have been faced with a difficult circumstance, but I was inspired to have courage because of the characters in Lord of the Rings. I found courage and hope through their example. The themes just run really, really deep in Lord of the Rings. And I think a lot of people feel very strongly about the series because of that. There's just so much meaning behind every scene. There are so many layers there to unpack and to explore. And of course, I especially find encouragement in the Christian themes and imagery. Tolkien's writing is just completely saturated with faith in God. I could go on for like 10 minutes about all the different themes, but I just don't want this video to go on for a million years. There are so many wonderful characters in this series, it is absolutely impossible to choose a favorite. Each person is incredibly complex and deep. Every character has their own history, their own philosophies, and of course they speak many different languages. Ooh, those wonderful fictional languages of Tolkien. And of course they all have their own cultural traditions, but they all come together for this one quest in order to save what is good in the world. They reject the darkness and they embrace the light, and that is what brings them all together. I could go on for another 10 minutes just about the characters, but I'm not going to. Maybe I'll do another video all about some of my favorite characters. For now though, let's talk about the writing style. Tolkien's writing is just so beautiful. The second that I turn to that first page and just like read that first paragraph, I just go, oh, it's so rich and lovely. Every page just kind of flows along in this wave of rich language, and the reader is swept away into this world of imagination. The genius of the writing style is that it does not try to sound fancy. I don't like it when the writing style tries to like sound like they're trying too hard, you know? And with Tolkien, it just flows so naturally. He does sometimes use a more formal language, but then he also uses kind of just more common everyday language as well. There's this mixture of formal language and common language that is a reflection of the characters' personalities, or maybe the setting or the mood of the scene. The result is this perfect blend that just flows naturally and it never feels stale. The writing also brings forward a lot of emotions. This is such an emotional book, and every time that I reread it, I cry and I clutch the book in suspense, even though I already know what's going to happen. And I laugh. The writing is so funny in places, and I grieve with the characters and I feel their joy. It's just that powerful. I love that so many of the settings focus on stars and trees and the ocean. There are just so many beautiful settings and the scenery and the descriptions of the scenery. There are a lot of very exquisite descriptions of the scenery, but it never feels boring. You know, some books, it's like, okay, you're describing the scenery, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm bored. Not so with Tolkien. And whether it's a beautiful scene or some dark and nasty place that it's being described, it just puts the reader right smack in the middle of that scene. It's just so vivid and so like immediate. You are just right there with the characters. Of course, the plot is exciting and interesting and complex. There's lots of different layers and different moving parts. Every little detail just fascinates me. There was a lot going on in this plot over a long span of time, and yet the pacing is excellent. It's like they have some certain goal that they're trying to accomplish, and they accomplish that little goal, but then there are new questions that have arisen, and so now they have to do this next little goal. And then it keeps building and building and building in such a natural way as they continue on their quest, and they travel to different places, and they meet different people. And then along the way, of course, there's all these obstacles, and so then they have to deal with these new issues that come up, and their plans fail, and then they have to change what they're doing. But it all just flows so naturally from one point to the other as the tension builds through the story. And all the threads of the plot and the different characters and their different journeys all come together so perfectly in the end. It is such a satisfying, beautiful, emotional ending. And of course, the world building and the magic system are just phenomenal. It's a soft magic system, but it feels like it just permeates everything through the entire world. There has never been another fictional world created with the history and the languages and just all these tiny details like Tolkien has put into Middle-earth. I mean, he spent decades creating this world, and every little detail is just so captivating. Lord of the Rings is a complete delight. I love rereading it every time that I reread it. I just always find something different, something new, some little detail, some little something going on under the surface that I never quite noticed before. I always give it 5 stars. I wish I could give it 20 stars. This book always captures my heart, captures my imagination. And I feel like this is a book that makes me a better person. Because of all the spiritual themes and the inspiration that I find in it, this makes me a better person in my day-to-day life and equips me to face just everyday challenges that come up in life. That is the genius of Tolkien. So please leave me a comment down below and let me know, have you read Lord of the Rings? Do you love it as much as I do? And if you have not read Lord of the Rings, please, please do. I know that it can be a bit of a slog to get through because it's just so long, but it is absolutely worth it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.